Okay, let's wrap up the last bit of this problem. Now talking about anatomical levers and the components of forces and their direction. Alright, so here's the last little bit of this problem, talking now about the components of forces with the anatomical levers, knowing their direction and understanding really kind of why they're called what they are and how the different vectors or distributions of those forces cause different things about the joints. So that's what this last problem is asking. What is the amount of dislocating force caused by the muscle? First, let's distinguish between the different components of the joint. The first and basically the most simplest thing is imagine we're dealing with the same problem. Here's a weight or an arm. We're at 90 degrees. The bicep is pulling at a force exactly at 90 degrees or perpendicular. Well, great. This is a 100% rotary component force vector. This is going to cause movement, absolutely. There's no waste in motion, no change. We don't have to deal with any side or different types of directions of the force. It's only going to go one direction. It's only going to provide movement. The second type is with angles that are greater than 90 degrees. If the line of pull is still here, well, there's going to be here's going to be the rotary component, the one that's moving, or the perpendicular force. But then tip to tail method tells us that there's going to be some sort of direction into the joint which will provide stabilization. And what this horizontal component does is it provides stabilization. That's pretty easy to see with the direction. There is going to be some sort of force generated into this axis of rotation, or in this case, the joint. And finally, when we're dealing with angles smaller than 90 degrees, here we have the force of the muscle here. This vector here is going to be the rotary component. But now, tip to tail method. So now we have this horizontal force vector moving away from the joints. This is going to cause dislocation, right? I mean, it's moving out from the joint. If you imagine these are the bones right here, and you're going to have some distribution of force that's pulling this out of the actual joint. And this is what we're talking about. And luckily, this is the exact same conditions we're dealing with, less than 90 degrees. Okay, so earlier we solved for a couple of these components. Here we have the rotary component. This is the force of the muscle. So coming back here, force of the muscle here. Here's the rotary or the perpendicular force here. We're solving for this. Make sure this is plus or minus. This direction is going this way, so we know it's going to be positive. This ends up equaling 59.83 newtons. Whew! And we're done. My goodness. That's a chunk of a problem. In fact, it's like kind of 3 or 4 problems kind of bundled up in one with a nice little bow tied on it, thanks to me. Okay, so that's all for this video. I hope that helped your understanding a little bit more with torques and levers, resultant forces, resultant torques, static equilibriums, and components of force. It was a beast of a problem. I think we managed to move through it, but I hope that helps you in your future moving on with biomechanics. Thanks.